Welcome to another CoopCast Internet Show. My name is Jeff Kapp, and this week we have Joe Liska from New Canaan, Connecticut. Joe, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the recognition. I'm not sure I deserve it, but thank you for it.
You deserve it, definitely, with being in the hobby as long as you have been. Joe, we'd like to just ask you a few basic questions. And one of the first questions we'd like to ask you is, when did you get started in having pigeons, breeding pigeons? When did you get started?
Oh, I got started around 1935 when I was about 11 years old. My dad got me involved in them because he had them when he was a bachelor, and he flew pigeons in New York City on the roof. Like few people still do. Mm-hmm. Used to be a very popular sport, mm-hmm. but it no longer is because of the class of people that are there and what their interests are. Yeah.
And when you got started, did you start off with flying pigeons?
Flying pigeons, okay. Yeah. As a matter of fact, my dad and I went to the local corset factory and got a crate from them, dragged it home on a wagon that we had, and set it up in the backyard, and built it into a pigeon coop. Mm-hmm. And we used to fly our birds out of the backyard. This was in Ozone Park, Queens, and in those days there were probably a half a dozen pigeon people within Ozone Park where I lived. Okay. There was 3, I guess, within about 2 blocks of where I lived. Mm-hmm. So I got involved with them. Eventually, and I'm jumping ahead, but eventually when I got into frills, I don't know how far back you want me to go, but one of my neighbors down the street was a homer flyer. Okay. And one day his homers, when he was racing them, brought in a pygmy powder as a stray, and I had no idea where it came from. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was a pure white pygmy powder. He decided to put it in a show in Brooklyn, and he invited my dad and I to come down to the show just to see the birds. Mm-hmm. And that's where I saw my first Oriental frill. Wow. A pigeon show in Brooklyn. Okay. And I just fell in love with them. I found out this lady, Mrs. Meringer, in Chicago, who was one of the outspoken people in the fancy at the time. Okay. And I wrote to her. She and I got to be good friends. I bought some birds from her. She shipped them to me on a freight train overnight. And that's how I got started with them. I interested my friends in the neighborhood somewhat in them, and from out of the neighborhood, and all of a sudden we originated what is now the Eastern Oriental Frill Club. Okay. It was called the Metropolitan Frill Club when we started, because it was just metropolitan New York. Mm-hmm. It started in my backyard. I was only a teenager, but I got these men and boys and everybody involved, and we had a nice little club going. Mm-hmm. We used to meet at each other's homes once a month. And I remember one meeting we had in our house. We had it down in the basement. Somebody came by and knocked on the window. It was the air raid warden, because we had an air raid warning, and we had to turn out all the lights because we were having a meeting down there. And it's an unusual thing to happen. I don't know if it's happened to anybody else, but it did to me. And
not too much now.
Anyway, so that's how we got started. The war came along. Yes. The war was on. We all got drafted or entered the service. Yep. And the Metropolitan Frill Club just hung on by a few members. It eventually turned around. They had a show in the New York Museum. Okay. And they got started. They changed the name from Metropolitan Frill to the Eastern Oriental Frill because it encompassed more than Metropolitan New York at the time. Was growing into a bigger club, and it's still in existence today. So.
And how many members did you have in the club when it was the Metropolitan Club back then?
When we first started?
When you first started.
Oh, maybe 8 or 10.
8 or 10?
Yeah.
And then once, after the war ended and men came back from the war, did the club grow again, like you said?
Yes.
It grew?
Yes.
And what were the average?
I was not involved at that time because I went off through the Navy. I was in the Navy. They sent me to college, and I wasn't going to go to college. And so I got a job, and I didn't get back into pigeons again until a number of years later.
Okay.
And I still like my Oriental frills, so I got them from Johnny Costa, who was an outstanding breeder.
And that's where you purchased your first Oriental frills from?
Right.
Okay, Johnny Costa.
I purchased 2 pair. I started with 2 pair. And I've only kept 6 pair since then. And I kept the best each year, and I sold some of the old ones. I never remated the same ones, even though they bred winners for me, because I want to improve on the ones that I won with. And I was reasonably successful in doing that. And
well, how many pairs of Oriental frills did you have at one time, usually?
The most I ever had was 6.
6 pairs of breeding from?
6 pair.
Okay. And were they all the same color?
Well, they were all blue lace satinets. I had a few brunettes, which are brown blue lace satinet, really. Same markings. They're interchangeable.
Okay.
But I only specialized in one breed. If you want to do well, you got to focus your effort, and you just can't throw them together. You got to think about why you're mating this one to that one, and if you have more than 6 pair, I don't have that mental capability.
Yeah.
So I got to focus in on a few good ones, and that's it. You know, they're cheaper to operate, and they're easier to keep clean. I clean my coop twice a day. That's why I don't have them today, because I got a bad back and I can't clean the coop. Or I'd still have them.
Twice a day. You wouldn't see me clean my coop twice a day.
So anyway, but that's how I got involved with them. And always, I was president of a number of clubs, and I, took a very active role. I used to write an article every month. For 12 years, I wrote an article every month. Even when I went on vacation, I'd write it ahead of time and send it in. And I never missed a month.
Which magazine was that you would write the article to? Do you remember? Was it the APJ or?
No, it was before the APJ.
Oh, wow.
The American Pigeon Keeper, I think it was.
American Pigeon Keeper.
I think that was the name of it.
Do you remember roughly around the years that you were doing those articles? So if some of our viewers want to see if they can research some of those.
I have some copies upstairs.
Okay.
But
okay.
Every once in a while somebody will dig one out and say, "I just read your article," because they save magazines like that, but they sell them actually through the magazine themselves.
Now, with being in pigeons for almost your whole entire life,
right?
And it started with your father having pigeons. Did you meet a lot of friends in the hobby along the way?
Oh yes, many from all over the country.
All over the country.
Right.
Anyone you would like to stand out and mention anyone specifically in the area or any states that you became very good friends with through the pigeon hobby?
Well, the local people I'm good friends with.
Okay.
I haven't really kept up my broad exposure, although I see them I just show locally now. I say locally in the New York and Pennsylvania.
Yeah, more in the northeast corner.
Northeast corner, yeah. Anywhere up in this area.
Yeah.
And have done reasonably well.
That's good.
As a matter of fact, the first time I showed, I won champion. Bob Johnson was a judge. as a matter of fact. I didn't know him before then.
Oh, so that's how you became friends, because you became friends with the judge who awarded you first place.
I guess. But we've been friends ever since, so he didn't do a bad job on me anyway.
And you still stay in contact with Bob Johnson?
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Very much so. Oh, that's great. That's great to hear. And last question. Did you have a specific mentor with being in the pigeon hobby? Was there someone that you looked up to, or someone that always helped you out when you first got started and going through the hobby?
Yeah, in Rhode Island.
Johnny Costa?
Johnny Costa, yeah. I used to go see Johnny fairly once in a while. I'd go up there. And there was another fellow outside of Hartford, and I can't remember his name either. He was a good friend of Johnny's. He got all his birds from Johnny.
Yeah.
And when I started, he sold me a pair and Johnny sold me a pair. I met them at his house, and that's how I got to know both of them. And I got a pair from each of them, but he had Johnny's birds, so they made it together well. I got some birds from other people later through the years, and I never did well with them.
Yeah.
They never really gave me a very good bird to use. I'd send away for it, and I'd try it, but it would never panned out too well for some reason. I guess it was different bloodline.
Yeah.
Not that they would do that to me on purpose, but, but I got one recently like that it wouldn't even mate. But anyway, that's another story.
Well, Joe, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the CoopCast this week.
I wish I could tell you more, but
we hope that you
long history.
Oh, we hope that you invite us back to another show in the near future, because we'd love to continue to interview you here.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for attending the show. And again, this was Jeff Kapp with CoopCast interviewing Joe Liska from Canaan, Connecticut, and we look forward to seeing you guys again in a future show. Thank you.